All right, we're back to answer the ultimate question. All of this flim flam around genetics, DNA, who are the original Americans? This is an easy thing to answer when you're honest, direct, and clear. Now, the biggest problem that we're having, especially with the people who look like me, is that they don't read and in the sense of adequate reading and then vet the material properly. So lots of people believe these people walked across some ice 15,000 years ago, stayed the entire time as the population here. Columbus came and the world shifted. That is the given narrative. That is a total hoax. It is misinformation. It is inaccurate. And so we got to answer this question, and it's an easy one to answer. We're going to deal with Albert Perry and clear the air on that. And we're going to deal with who was here according to excavations, etc. And in case you're wondering why I use these tribes, the Yamasee are the oldest tribe in the South, and the Cherokee are not even a real tribe, according to their own most renowned scholar, Charles Renatus Hicks. He talked about how the Cherokee basically attacked the mound builders to try to destroy their civilization. I always have to refer to the classical civilization in the Americas, the She, misnamed Olmecs, Mayans, etc. People give misinformation about their phenotype, etc. And here you have it. Oh, Mayans don't have a hair like you. Yes, they do. Actually, they do. And this is them depicting themselves. And so the reason why I'm showing this is art, but it's also depicting phenotype, which is genotype. And so the particular genes you need, MC1R, to make that skin color, the copper transport systems in the hair, they don't exist amongst the people you're calling Mayans today. So if you want to talk about genetics, we have to add in anthropology. We have to add in the witness documents, and we see the locks, we see the kinky hair, and we still ignore it because why? There is a severe hatred. I could go all day on the art, but the art speaks to the phenotype and the genotype. Since we're about to talk about Florida, let's go to what broke up the Clovis stuff anyway. The Page Lassen site, located underwater in Aquila River near Tallahassee, is primary pre-Clovis site in Florida, dating back approximately 14,500 years. This site contains stone tools and mastodon bones and cutting marks, indicating human activity roughly 1,500 years before the Clovis culture, which was previously considered the first in the Americas. So they got the location and the evidence and the finds, and they're saying like, oh, this is not matching up with our story. Of course it's not. You wrote a story, and Black Americans destroy your concept of evolution, and they also destroy what? Your entire matrix of history. Because if we were here giving the Egyptian cocaine, hape, cacao before Columbus, we had a whole network, a whole world that you don't want to talk about. We know why you don't want to talk about it. Now, let me go to the haplogroups in case you don't know what haplogroups are. You have male haplogroups and female haplogroups. Female haplogroups are charted through the mitochondrial DNA. Male haplogroups are charted by the Y chromosome. So here you have kind of a tree and a fork, and this is my particular rendition of what these groups represent. What the actual groups represent when you measure phenotype. Phenotype means what do the genes do? They're actually measuring antiquity and fertility. I always bring sources. And so when you start dealing with haplogroups into Eurasia, they're less fertile in evolutionary biology since less fit. All right. So you can look at these and you won't see A, B haplogroups on here. You're going to see D, E, F. Take a screenshot of that. Yeah, this deals with fertility. Who has the most potent ability to stay in existence? Now, this is the first article that came out about Albert Perry. And of course, if you read the article, it's very clear that he says in here that they did not find AO lineage in these sub-Saharan African hunter-gatherer populations. Then they tried to say they did. So let's fix that. Perry's genes do not match anybody in Cameroon's. Perry was born in Florida. Perry was not a slave. He was born in Florida. I'm going to show you the evidence so you can stop saying it, but let's kill the genetic thing, because now we're going to hold up the torch and say the oldest gene pool on Earth is in black southeastern North America, not from a slave. AOO is sometimes referred to as Perry's Y chromosome, or simply Perry's Y. This previously unknown haplogroup was discovered in 2012 in the Y chromosome of an African-American man who had submitted his DNA to Family Tree DNA. He was identified as a descendant of Albert Perry, hence the name. Mendez et al. 2013 announced the discovery of this previously unknown haplogroup, for which they proposed to designate her AOO. Perry Y would later be redesignated AOOA after the discovery of a similar but different group from Cameroon. AOOA is over here in America. Researchers later found AOO was possessed by 11 Mibo males, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing that, West Cameroonian Bantu, out of a sample. Subsequent research suggested that the overall rate of AOO was even higher amongst that tribe. The tribe samples were later classified as its own subgroup, AOOB. So now I do DNA methylation testing. I do genetic testing. I have DNA electrophoresis machines, PCR machines, all of these things. I understand this subject at a greater level than any of the black geneticists that you have here. And we can come in the public and dialogue about it. Here you go. Look at the flags. These are Perry's descendants. These are the people in Cameroon. This is the S&P profile. Single nucleotide polymorphisms. Those mutations. They don't match. Screenshot. So this is Clyde Perry, his son. This is his death certificate. He was a farmer. They lived in South Carolina. But where was Albert Perry born? Florida. Not South Carolina. In a time when Florida was not even under U.S. jurisdiction. He was born in 1816. Some say 1819. Regardless of that, the U.S. territory had not been handed back over to the U.S. until the 1820s. Florida became a state. Florida became a state in 1845. Who was in Florida the whole time? The Yamasee, the Creek. Later, they misnamed them the Seminole. This is right post after the War of 1812, 1813, 1814, Andrew Jackson running around going crazy in Georgia, South Carolina, etc. And you got a bunch of black Indians fighting at the Black Fort, Sunafi Tustanigi. What are y'all talking about that Perry was a slave? You have no proof. Here he is on the census with all of his children. Here he is in the city that I was born in. Albert Perry was in the city. You know how many Perrys I know? Here he is trying to get land back that they took from him. Y'all are done. Let's shift speeds and deal with the Dixon Mounds, because I got to tell you something. Here is the Southeast. Dixon is up here. Now let me read from this report right here. You see the sources right there. But what does it say? It says researchers have identified 5 major haplogroups in Native Americans, A, B, C, D, and X. These are mitochondria, all right, from this report, from extant indigenous populations. All right, so individual sequences, listen to this, outside of these groups were classified as contamination and were omitted for further analysis. They have a policy in genetics. When you see black stuff pop up, that's contamination. Something went wrong. Throw this shit away. You see the source right there. So the Dixon Mounds were interesting because they tested 156 of these, but they found out that it was 7,000 as a whole burial, and there was differences. The hunter-gatherer populations were larger, bigger, no bone lesions. No, what's going on? So they did the study and they found out the earlier group had a mixed hunter-gatherer balanced diet. Screenshot. They looked at the other group and they found the skeletons had significant changes because of agriculture. So the people were shorter, with less health, weaker bones because of corn, wheat, and maize, survival food. And so the oldest genes in the world are Black Americans' genes. And no matter how much proof we bring, they still don't want to admit we are America's first nation.
Illinois, centuries of history lie beneath these hills.
Before there were buildings, before there was a town, there was a people, builders, dreamers.
From their hands and from the earth, they raised a place of power.
A story written in soil
and remembered in stone. Dixon.
We are the ancient mound builders and pyramid builders.
Look at us. Black leather, feathers blowing, diamonds shining. We walking up on our own history. This hill, these mounds, this here museum, it's ours. We built the mounds, we built the pyramids. All praises to the Most High. Our blood, our strength,
We are the ancient mound builders and pyramid builders. All praises to the